Guys, I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. I am so grateful that you guys are messaging me and commenting and subscribing to all of my videos. I really appreciate it. As you can tell, the sun is on me. It is rising just now and the lighting is a little bit different than normal, so I hope it doesn't bother you guys too much. I just woke up and I was just so excited to do these videos. I couldn't even sleep. I woke up at 4 a.m. I did my work and I was like, okay, as soon as the sun comes up, I'm gonna start doing these videos because I'm so excited to share some stuff with you today. Actually, I got an email from Sarah Fountain. You've probably seen her comments in the channel, and she said something really interesting that she asked me that, is it weird that she sits in the shower for, a long period of time while the water runs down on her and just lets herself come back to normal, whatever normal means, like recharge, rejuvenate, whatever it is, right? And I said, no, you know what? I don't think that's normal. The only reason, abnormal, sorry, I don't think that's abnormal because I think the only reason I wouldn't do that is because I am an environmental freak. I have some kind of green weirdness in me where I worry about wasting water. I barely even take like a 3-minute shower. So I wouldn't do that. But what I do in order to do exactly the same thing as she does, to come back to normal, to feel right again, whatever that right means to you, is that I sit and stare off into space for long periods of time. It's actually really weird. I'm so grateful that I live by myself because I'll literally be sitting here. And I actually did this right before doing this video. I actually sat here and I stared off into space. Now I actually have this amazing view here. I wish I could show you guys. I don't think you'll be able to see it though, because the camera zoom isn't big enough. But it's basically like like a panorama of the jungle, the forest, and then the ocean in the distance. So I actually just sit here for long periods of time and just stare off into space. Kind of running through random thoughts, ruminating on random things, going back to the past, thinking about how I did things, how I can improve, and then thinking about the future and how the future is going to look or how I want it to look, and then thinking about my days, thinking about what I need to do, what I want to do, am I living my life the way I want to live, so many different things going on through my head. And so I spend a lot of time just sitting here and staring off into space, not only here in this yoga hall, but also I'll spend time in my apartment, in my house, in my bungalow, sitting. As soon as I wake up in the morning, that's actually one of the first things I do. And that's the reason I think I hate being in a relationship because, that person's going to be there in the morning. And my morning is such a precious time for me that I dislike it when anyone intrudes upon it, no matter who that person is, no matter how much I love them, right? And so I sit there and as soon as I get up, I sit up and I'll just stare off at the walls, like at the white walls. I'll just look into space, or I'll look at the forest through the windows, or I'll just be like just sitting there for at least half an hour minimum, if not longer. Sometimes if I have a day off, I'll sit there for a couple of hours just staring off into space. Yeah. And so I really, really, really like that. I wish I had found this earlier, because I think what happened earlier is that I used to think of this thing that I do as sitting around and staring off into space as a waste of time. I used to think that, oh man, I'm wasting my time. I need to be more productive. I need to give back to the world, blah blah blah, right? So I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't allow myself to have that time. But now I know that that is so necessary for me in order to be balanced, in order to feel calm, in order to feel at peace with the world, content, to not feel like I'm all like crazy in my head, to feel just balanced as possible, as possible it is for an INFJ. Like it's very hard for us to be balanced, but with this kind of time where I just sit and stare off in space, I feel so much calmer after. I just feel so good after. And so I give myself this time. I allow myself this time to be non-productive, really. Actually, it's the most productive time I have because after that, I have so much energy to do all the different things I want to do. I'm rejuvenated. I have all my energy back. I recuperate all of that energy that I gave away doing all the different things I do. And so a lot of times, actually, once I have a really long day, I had one of those days where I was surrounded by people all day and people were just asking me for everything and I gave a lot of my energy. After those days as well, I do the same thing. I'll come back to my room and I'll have everything off. I won't be on my phone. I won't be on my computer. No music. Music really irks me in that time. And just quiet and peace. And I'll just sit um, usually cozied up under a blanket or something like that on my bed if it's cold, and if it's hot, then with the fan running on me, and I'll just sit and stare off into space, for as long as I need to. And because I'm kind of pretty aware of my body and my mind, I know as soon as I've filled up. It's like a gas gauge. When you're filling up a car, you're looking at the gas gauge to make sure that you don't overfill, right? Nowadays they have sensors so that they switch off when you've reached the limit, but we don't have those sensors. I mean, we do. We have our own perceptions, but if you know yourself, okay, I have reached the limit. I am done. No more. Okay, it's just like, no, I can't take anymore. I can't give anymore. And then at that point, I'll just go back home and I'll rejuvenate myself by just sitting and staring off into space. Really, a lot of you guys have mentioned that you read books and you watch TV and all that stuff. All of that stuff really tires me out, especially after a really tiring day. I don't want to give more of my energy away. Look at how bright the sun is. I look like a ghost. I'm sorry about that. Just focus on my voice. And so I find all that stuff really tiring, actually. I especially, as I said, if I have a really, really, really tough day, I actually go home and I don't want to do anything. I literally don't want to do anything. And I think that's what Sarah Fountain was talking about as well when she kind of sits under the water and just lets it run for a long time. I think that's what she's doing, is that, first of all, the bathroom is the only place I think a lot of us can escape to, and the shower is somewhere where no one's going to come and poke at you and say, oh, I need something, can you help me? Because they know, like, the shower is a place where you can be on your own, right? So I feel like that's a place where we can be by ourselves, and so that's the place that she's chosen to be by herself. Luckily enough for me, I have my own apartment and my own space, and no one ever bugs me there because I don't invite people over. I have strict rules about that. I have very strict rules about the people that are allowed into my space, physical space obviously, my personal space, but very, very strict rules about the people who are allowed into my apartment, into my cave. Their energy has to be of the utmost highest level, and so very few people actually are invited into my space. Actually, in the past 5 months I've been living in my apartment, I've only invited one person into my apartment, and she only came in to kind of take a peek at something, and then she left again, and so that was all right with me. But it's very rare that I invite people into my apartment, into my house, because I don't know what their energy is going to do when it melds with my energy. Like, I've done so much work to kind of make sure that my apartment, my energy in that space is right. I don't want someone coming in and kind of screwing with it, right? And so I'm very, very, I actually never let anyone into my apartment, except for obviously my siblings, my brother and sister, my parents. They're allowed to come in, and a couple of my friends. That's it. That's it. No one else. I actually always meet someone if they're coming in at the door, and I'll walk them out. Be like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to go. I don't like people coming in. Again, all to do with energies. And so I think that's exactly the same thing what Sarah was talking about, is that she spends all this time kind of rejuvenating herself. Now, the reason why she messaged me is because she wanted to make sure that she didn't sound like a psycho, because unfortunately her stepdad calls her that all the time. And first of all, he sounds like an idiot, so I wouldn't listen to him. But also, I know I've been called crazy, and I've seen messages from you guys where when you were a child, you used to do that. You used to stare off into space, and your teachers thought that you were crazy, and your parents thought you were crazy, and they took you to a psychiatrist. Now, thankfully, I'm 34 and I don't live with anyone. No one has any say in how I live my life. So thankfully, I can spend as much time as I want staring off into space. But I do know some of you guys have an issue, have time, are still living with your parents or are still living with other people. And so perhaps people will look at you and think, what are you doing? Because we have the society that we live in right now where you always have to be doing something. There is this glorification of being busy, right? I love being busy. I like doing things, of course, but also I balance that out with a lot of just sitting around doing nothing. And I do a lot of meditation, and I do a lot of sitting, just staring off into space, right? And so, again, there's this glorification of being busy, and so if you're not being busy, if you're not being productive, even if it's just being on Facebook and wasting your time, as long as you're doing something, the world is like, okay, cool, she's fine, she's not crazy. But if you're just sitting around staring off into space, you're labeled insane, or you're labeled schizophrenic or bipolar or autistic, or all those stupid labels that are out there, right? And so I do feel for you guys if you don't have the space to do that. So perhaps use Sarah's technique and, sit in the shower and let that water run over you, and just spend your time ruminating and thinking, letting your mind wander, being creative in your thinking, just relaxing and letting go, and use that time to rejuvenate and recuperate and come back to center, come back to balance. I hope this makes sense to you guys. I'm sorry about the lighting. The sun is just so freaking bright. I shouldn't complain. I love the sun. But I hope it's not too annoying to you guys. Again, thank you so much for watching, for being on my channel. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.